In this video, we're going to talk about conditional formatting, and I have an example spreadsheet here to help me do that. Real quick, just to show you what the spreadsheet does, it's talking about resistors, an electronic component that you can send electricity through. And resistors have a certain maximum power measured in watts that they can absorb, and if they absorb more than that amount of power, they can actually overheat and catch fire, and that's not good for your circuit. Resistors have a certain resistance that's measured in ohms, which is symbolized by this Greek uppercase omega. If you want to see how to create or use Greek letters or symbols in an Excel spreadsheet, see the previous video about how to do that. And this resistor is connected up to a battery that has a certain voltage. In this case, I've specified 9 volts. These 3 cells that I have highlighted in green are the input cells, and I like to do that in a spreadsheet, is to make a green background on those cells that are your input values, and then everything else in the spreadsheet is a calculation. So green for go means that's where you put your input values. Now in this calculation, I have taken these values and I've put names on those cells. So the maximum power rating for the resistor, I'm calling it P max. The resistance, I'm calling RES, and the voltage, I'm simply calling V. Formula in cell D7, which I've labeled current, is calculating the current. And that's a result of Ohm's law, that the current is equal to the voltage divided by the resistance. Voltage divided by resistance gives you the current. And the power being used by the resistor is current times the voltage. So these two cells, D7 and 8, the current and power, are formulas, are calculations based on the input values here. Now here's where we finally get to talk about conditional formatting. And we don't really need to worry about the resistors, and I'm just using this as an example. But what I'd like to be able to do is when we do a calculation and the resulting power is greater than the power rating of the resistor, to have the spreadsheet highlight that fact, so that I don't have to be thinking it turns it red, say, as a warning that, oh, I'd better change the resistance or the voltage or the power rating unless I want my circuit to catch fire. So I'm going to apply conditional formatting to cell D8, the power calculation. Now I have this spreadsheet protected, so I can't do anything to it. If I try, it gives me a warning. So I'm going to unprotect the sheet. And if you need to review on how to protect and unprotect sheets from modification, check out the video earlier in this series. I've now unprotected the sheet, and I'm now going to apply some conditional formatting to that cell. Coming over here to the Home tab, Conditional Formatting, I have cell D8 selected, so I go to Conditional Formatting. Here are all the options, and you may want to just play with all of these. I'm going to take one of the more basic ones, Highlight Cell Rules, and the first option, in fact, is the one that I want, but if the value in D8 is greater than the value in D3, I'm going to have it highlight. But there are other options, less than, in a range between two values, equal to, and you can also do things involving text or dates or duplicate values, and here you can click on for more. But I'm going to go for greater than, and I'm going to say that my highlighted cell D8 will be highlighted with light red fill and a dark red text. There are other options here, but I'll go with that default. Looks good. If it is greater than my value in D3. And I hit OK. Now I'm going to go back and I'm going to protect the sheet again. I've made my change to the sheet, and I don't want any of this to get messed up accidentally. So now I've got a 1/4 watt resistor. That's the maximum power it can absorb. Notice, by the way, I have that formatted as a fraction. See the video on formatting cell contents if you want to see how to do that. And the value is 1,000 ohms for the resistance. But what if it was only 100 ohms? Well, a 100 ohm resistance is going to allow more current to flow through it, and the resulting power is greater, and it's greater than 1/4 of a watt. So it has highlighted the resulting power cell just like I wanted it to. Now if I hooked it up to a smaller voltage, let's say a 1.5 volt, there'd be less power, less than 1/4 of a watt, and the highlighting is turned off. If we were in a situation where we had a 9-volt battery again, like before, it's greater than 1/4 watt. So in that situation, if you were an electrical engineer designing a circuit and it had to be connected to 9 volts and it had to be 100 ohms for some reason, other reason involving the circuit or the design, then you would have to choose a resistor that has a higher ability to absorb heat. So you might in fact choose a 1 watt resistor, and you do that, and no longer is it in danger of overheating or catching fire. But a 1/2 watt resistor would be too small. Anyway, that's a quick example of conditional formatting and can be handy in all kinds of spreadsheets where you want the spreadsheet to highlight certain conditions, and all that depends on what it is you're trying to do with your spreadsheet.